you know, there's a thin line between understanding and looking for answers. Still to this day, I don't know what it was. Like what made him do that. Around, you know, maybe like 6 or 7 o'clock, I received a call from one of my good friends. He just said that an ambulance had pulled up to the back of Lions. My friend just told me that I should come over to the dorm room and see what's going on, because like they hadn't heard from Jordan in a long time. Nobody had seen him in hours. He hadn't responded to their text to like go grab lunch or dinner. Someone notified Res Life staff. That RD actually, James, he was the one that found Jordan. Like he knocked on the dorm room of Jordan, and he got no response. So he used the master key to go in and saw what had happened. And they just asked us if we wanted to call anyone. And I said that I did want to call someone, and I called my parents, and they asked me if it was a suicide, and I didn't really know what that meant. So I just repeated the fact that they knew that he had died. At that point, I didn't know much about mental illness and mental health and suicide, and I just wasn't exposed to that as a possibility of how to die. I had never thought of a desire to die coming from within. I never thought of that as an option. When I was younger, I saw him the day before at dinner, and he was same Jordan. You know, he was a fun-loving kid, always smiling, looking for laughs, easy to be around. You know, he was just a joy to be around, and you felt at ease when you were around him. You didn't feel like you had to prove anything to him. You just felt like you could act naturally. We were always together. We had common interests, you know, music and skiing or snowboarding, and you know, just playing like Super Smash Brothers or Mario Kart, and really just hanging out. We hung out a lot. You know, we just spent a lot of time in his room when he had the single. We kind of treated it as a lounge for our friend group, and so there wasn't a sense of like isolation. But he must have felt isolated.
You know, we can provide all the resources that we have to help people deal with the suicide once it's happened. But when it happens, it's just, everybody goes, why? Why? You know, and one of the questions everybody always asks is, why didn't he tell us? And And there's an answer to that, and the answer is very simple. He didn't want you to know. You know, most people who are suicidal don't really want to die. They have some kind of pain, mostly psychological pain, and they want that pain to stop. It's been a challenge from a mental health position on any college campus to deal with this. People don't want to talk about it because it makes them really uncomfortable. Families don't want to talk about it. One of the reasons is there's always a tremendous amount of guilt on the part of the survivors. Why didn't I know? I could have done something. Why didn't I stop this? Why didn't he or she tell me about this? But what we're trying to say is, it's okay to not be okay. If you've got a problem, we have tons of resources on this campus you can talk with. You can talk with campus ministry. You can talk with members of the residence life staff. You can talk with captains in the teams, because we've educated everybody about all these issues and what to do for help. We have wonderful counselors here. We have wonderful nurses here. We have great athletic trainers. We have great coaches. It's okay to not be okay, and if you have something going on, it's okay to talk about it. The challenge is, how do we get that information out? So at St. Mike's, we have a group called Active Minds. Catherine Welsh, who's Assistant Dean of Students, is wonderful. She's the advisor for Active Minds. She just got recognized as the outstanding Active Mind advisor in the country.
The first time that we had had a student die by suicide on our campus was in February of 2011. I was the resident director in that building at the time, and I'm one of the resident directors who found him. So for me, that really changed my trajectory in education to focus on mental health and to focus on higher ed. That was it was life-changing. I had never experienced anything like that before. I had never found someone in that way before. I had never really experienced someone struggling with mental health in that way. In those moments, at least for me, you kind of crumble. And from those pieces, you kind of pick those pieces back up and say, okay, what are we going to do from here? And so for me, it was, I'm going to fight. I've always wanted to be a high school history teacher. That was my plan, was to go back and do that and work in the K-12 setting. And so after this, after experiencing that, I was just like, no, like I have work here to do. I have work around mental health. I have work to do on this campus to make sure that that never happens again, and to make sure that we raise as much awareness and as much focus on mental health, and that I'm kind of leading that conversation. So Active Minds is a national nonprofit that was started by a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania. She lost her brother, died by suicide, and after that she wanted to create a conversation around mental health on her campus. So that's how it kind of started, the organization did. It has now grown to a national nonprofit that has chapters on college campuses across the country. It's focused on students having conversations with other students around mental health, raising awareness, reducing stigma, and kind of moving the needle on their own campus, on having the conversations around policy, around how we treat one another, all of those sorts of things. Because we know students are more likely to know when their friends are struggling than staff and faculty are. Chris Allen and I worked really closely together to bring it here to St. Mike's, to bring it to the community.
When we got back on campus for spring semester, you know, you're in the thick of winter. at that point, and you know, the resorts were getting ready to have a nice winter, and I wanted to spend time with them. And I was never able to go with him.